Welcome to Crisis in Perception. Today we're digging into Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. But we're not just looking at it as a shocking historical novel. No, we're treating it as a brilliant diagnosis of a system's design. A design where all the horrific outcomes weren't an accident, they were the whole point.
And let's start with Sinclair's most famous quote, because it says it all, doesn't it? He thought he was writing this powerful takedown of labor exploitation, something to really make people feel for the workers. But what actually happened? The public was way more horrified by the thought of what was ending up in their food. And that massive misunderstanding, that's the crisis we're exploring.
And that right there is the crisis in perception we're talking about. When we zoom in on the most disgusting parts, the diseased meat, the rats, and the hoppers, we totally miss the disease itself. We see the scandal, but we're blind to the system that made it all inevitable.
So to really get it, you have to picture the whole Chicago meatpacking industry as this one giant, relentless conveyor belt. And its only rule is it cannot stop. It can't slow down for a person's safety, it can't slow down for sanitation, and it certainly can't slow down for human dignity. It just has to keep moving.
Now, at the heart of this machine is something we call incentive architecture. This is key. The horrors of Packingtown didn't happen because everyone was a monster. They happened because the entire system was designed to reward only two things: speed and cutting costs. Everything else, like, say, worker safety or clean factories, just became expensive obstacles, liabilities.
And here's the cold, hard logic of how that conveyor belt worked. First, you lure in the fuel for the machine, a constant stream of vulnerable immigrant labor, hoping for a better life. Step 2, you maximize speed, push those workers to their absolute physical limit. Step 3, you minimize costs by cutting every corner imaginable on safety and hygiene. And finally, step 4, you lock it all down. You consolidate power, fix wages and prices, and crush any and all resistance.
So when you build a system with that kind of blueprint, the horrors described in the book, well, they aren't bugs, they're features. They are the logical, entirely predictable results of the design.
Just look at what this system does to people. This quote shows you a crucial part of the design: a desperate, disposable workforce. I mean, when you have thousands of people literally fighting each other for one job, things like fair wages or safe working conditions become completely irrelevant to the owners. The supply of human fuel for the machine is endless.
And of course, this logic extends to the product itself. In a system that only rewards speed, where does something like sanitation even fit in? It doesn't. Cleaning costs time, it costs money, it slows down the belt. So what you get are open sewers and contaminated food. It's not some sloppy oversight, it's a direct consequence of the system's priorities.
And this is where it gets really crazy. You might think, well, what about the regulators, the government inspectors? This quote tells you everything. The inspectors weren't there to protect the public. They were there at the request of the packers. They just became another gear in the machine, a rubber stamp that created the illusion of safety while the conveyor belt kept right on running. So the book comes out. It causes a massive uproar. And how did the public react? Well, exactly like Sinclair said. He hit them right in the stomach. They fixated on the symptom, the dirty food, and completely missed the disease.
Okay, this slide just lays out that crisis in perception perfectly. On the left, you've got everything Sinclair was trying to expose: the human cost, the corrupt system, the brutal way workers were treated. But on the right, you see what the public actually cared about, which was, frankly, themselves. They were terrified of getting sick from tainted meat, and that's where they demanded action.
And this timeline is so revealing. Just look at the speed here. The book is published in 1906, and brand new major food safety laws are on the books within months, lightning fast. But what about action against the beef trust, the monopoly at the heart of the system? That took over a decade. The system got a quick fix to calm everyone down, but its fundamental engine was left running.
So ultimately, The Jungle really forces us to reframe the entire problem. This was never about a few greedy individuals or cruel foremen. It was, and is, a design problem.
And that leads us to the most important question, right? After all this time, what is the true lesson we're supposed to take away from The Jungle?
It's this, and it's so important. Exploitation is not a bug in the system. It's not an error or an accident. It's a feature. It is the intended, logical output of that system's design.
And if you're sitting there thinking, well, that was 100 years ago, think again. Just look at the parallels in Eric Schlosser's book Fast Food Nation, published almost a century later. It's chilling. You've got a vulnerable immigrant workforce
doing some of the most dangerous jobs in the country, while public concern is focused more on hormones in the meat or animal welfare than on the human beings doing the work. The conveyor belt, my friends, is still running.
So I want to leave you with this question. The Meatpacking Trust was a big, obvious machine. But what are the invisible conveyor belts, the hidden incentive architectures that are shaping our world right now?
This has been Crisis in Perception. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please do us a favor and like and subscribe. Even better, let us know in the comments what books or topics you'd like us to explore next.
This project is totally free and accessible to everyone. If you'd like to support the time and research that goes into making it, you can become a supporter on Patreon.